All right. Before the content creator event, I did a video on how that event would be release date therapy, and I set my expectations high. I also asked y'all to do the same. I've watched all the feedback from all the creators, and although my hopes were met, I do have some personal disappointments based on the information provided. So here are my takeaways and disappointments based on their feedback and what the next step for ESBC should be for the sake of the community. Takeaway number one, ESBC is boxing. By all accounts, this will be the best boxing game we have all played, bar none. Point blank, period. That was the consensus from all the creators. ShowBizz went as far as saying this is the first boxing video game he has ever played, and that's very high praise. They noted how playing ESBC with the fight night mindset is a quick way to get beat and not play the game to its full capability. Players will be able to flow seamlessly in and out of that loose footwork mechanic that we've seen. The look and movement of the fighters are on par with their real-life counterparts, and a lot of what they had to say about the core gameplay aspect that was available to them, and we'll kind of touch on that a little later, sounded great and got me amped to play the game. Takeaway number two, the body shots are OP. So the body shots will need tuning since it was noticeably easier for players to take out their opponent with body shots. And this message was consistent from everybody in the group. King Juice even talked about how he used that exploit to try to win. I don't blame him. If it's there, he's going to use it. It's just like any meta. But this exploit will have to be addressed prior to launch. It also proved to be another benefit of having a controlled group of boxing-minded gamers playing the game, because they can give that kind of feedback. So takeaway number three, inconsistency over the button latency. So listening to all their feedback, there's a little bit of inconsistency involving using buttons versus analog. Fanatico and Biz, and basically the North Carolina group, noted that the buttons were not as responsive. Fanatico noticed a difference when using the analog compared to the buttons, while Studdy didn't have as much of an issue with the buttons. Fanatico also mentioned that during the Zoom call, the SCI team stated they are working on making the buttons more responsive. So for now, the button versus analog balance question won't be answered until we all have a chance to play the game and give our takes. Takeaway number four, there's lots of questions still left on how much work must be done. Listen, if you play games long enough, you know bugs are expected, so the cornerman issues and fighters spazzing when getting KO'd is something I'm looking past, honestly. The things gameplay related we still don't have any or clear answers on are the punching while in the clinch, the running mechanic, taking a knee, a true to form weave mechanic, how stamina will be addressed going forward, and more. We have to keep in mind it was a pre-alpha build that they were gaming on. The bugs were expected. And even once we get the game, we're going to find bugs. But I'm happy they were able to identify them and even provide some quality suggestions, like Coach's Corner suggested for a better push mechanic based off the Philly shell. So for example, when you're in the Philly shell stance, he suggested you should be able to just like bump them with your shoulder. And that's legit boxing. Bottom line, that's just legit boxing and good feedback that only someone in tune with the finer details of boxing would understand the importance of that. They also asked the team that the fighter be able to slip and punch, because as of now, you have to return to position to punch. Takeaway number five, the mini game after knockdown is good. They were able to get a good sense on the mini game used to get up from a knockdown, and the consensus was they were okay with it. I originally felt like Studdy, because Studdy didn't want a mini game when it came to getting up. But even Studdy said he was good with it. The jury is still out for me, but at least it sounds like players won't be frustrated trying to use it. So all in all, this was definitely release date therapy, because all 6 content creators provided a great account of their experience with the game from their own unique perspective, which gave us something to chew on for a little bit. But as great a job as they did, I'm still disappointed. And it has nothing to do with the creators themselves. Disappointment number one, they didn't play a more current version of the game. Why didn't you provide them a more current version of the game? Because while they gave tremendous feedback on the pre-alpha version of the game, we're still left to wonder how much more valuable feedback they could have provided if they would have been allowed to play a more current version of the game. Some of the feedback they gave Steel City Interactive, they were already aware of, and it was either fixed or being worked on in the current version. Now, I'm not going to regurgitate everything they noted, because if you're watching this, you more than likely have already seen a few or all of their excellent work chronicling the event. And I put links in the description below to one each of the many videos that they did on the event. Disappointment number 2, no female fighters were able to be used. This would have been a great time to introduce some fans to the women's code. The community was very interested in this event and the outcome. I wanted to see the subtle differences that could come from a women's fight than a men's fight. Was there a stylistic difference between the women and the men? Was their hair fraying as they fight? How did the players feel operating at 2-minute rounds versus 3-minute rounds? What type of adjustments did they have to make? And just their overall experience with the women. I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to showcase them. I just would have liked to have seen it. Maybe they're waiting for Shields Marshall. I don't know. Disappointment number 3. I want to hear from a more diverse gaming group. Studdy mentioned if you play the game like a boxer or a boxing fan, then it's going to be an incredible experience. Okay, got it. I know Concept Reece was the closest one to fit what I'm talking about as far as not being a hardcore, but he still watches boxing. And us boxing fans have to remember this game will also attract new fans. So what do they think? I want to hear their feedback as well. And their feedback will also provide the learning curve from fighting game fan to casual fan to hardcore fan. And we already heard that there will be a casual and a hardcore mode, so SCI is keeping them in mind to some degree. For this past event, it's quite possible SCI wasn't ready for that type of feedback. And I'm pretty sure that played a role in why they went with the more boxing-centric group. So those are just a few of the things I would have liked to have seen or allowed those creators to have the ability to explore in the build that they had, but of course they were limited. That doesn't take away from everything that they did give us, but now we have to move forward. So what's the next step for ESBC? Now the actual next step for ESBC is only known by the team, but what I really want them to do next is release an open beta. I don't think the ESP community as a whole needs another select group of creators to get their hands on a different version of the game and provide their assessments. It's time for all the people that have been waiting for this game to be involved and provided a forum for constructive feedback. I don't want to see any more content creator specific events until after the open beta. We know members of the SCI team are boxing enthusiasts, so they'll be able to sift through any BS they receive by virtue of the open beta. But they will also get quality feedback from the rest of us. The feedback the Chosen 6 gave was great, and the event as a whole was a good tip of the cap to them since they've been putting on for the community for the longest. But the advantages of a diverse number of boxing fans and gamers, and in general, gaming enthusiasts, wouldn't be an illogical next step in my opinion. Bottom line here though, after the creator event, ESBC does feel closer now more than ever. Thank you to the Chosen 6 and all their informative videos, and also SCI for allowing them to blog and capture moments that gave the community as a whole a peek into their experience. So let's stay reasonable, fans, as we wait in anticipation for the next news to drop on the game. And I want to know, what are your thoughts? Based on what you heard, is it time for an open beta? Do you want another creator event before everybody gets their hands on the game? We know the Chosen 6 played an older version of the game. Am I in the minority that thinks it's time for the open beta? That's all I got for this one, people. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm out.